Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I am Tina. So today I'm going to do my top 10 queer as F sci-fi books. The reason I'm doing this is because I love, LGBTQ plus sci-fi, but also there's some annoying stuff going on right now in my province, Ontario, to do with the rights of LGBTQ plus people. So I wanted to do this as kind of a little support thing and hope that you guys consider purchasing some of these books. Not like these people are from Ontario, but whatever. Anyway, and by queer AF, I mean basically a main character who is queer and or normalized queerness in the world building. So let's get started. The first is Tenlo, a book I've talked about a lot. This is a sci-fi western by Stark Hallborn. This is set on a world that feels like it's from Firefly, but really, really run down. There's tons of lesbians and a foul-mouthed angry girl and the traumatized doctor that wants to save her. It's really fun. It's got really cool action scenes. There's a little bit of like mysticalness to it too, which is interesting. And there's a sequel that just came out this year, early this year, that I really enjoyed. So highly recommend this one. The next is The Stars Are Legion by Cameron Hurley. So everyone in this book is a woman, and they are aliens in this fleet of dying biological ships. It's full of body horror and weird stuff, and you're not really sure what's going on, but it's super cool and visceral and grimy and gory, and I really, really enjoyed it. Funny story, I read this book right after I gave birth to my first child, which probably wasn't a good idea because it's so weird, and I was very tired, but I couldn't stop reading it. That's how much I liked it. I was learning how to be a new mom, and I'm just reading this book at the same time. So yeah. So this one you folks are probably expecting, The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. So this one I kind of introduce people to when I lean them towards the gayer and or alien human romances in sci-fi books, because in this one we have a young woman and an alien woman in a romance, as well as other alien human romances or human and AI romances and other couples. The main focus of the book is not romance, but these are subplots of it. The main story is just basically a wormhole building ship. They're a bunch of workers basically trying to do a job, but then things get in the way and all this stuff. It's really, really fun. The series is really good. There's 4 of them. They're all connected, but they can stand alone as well. The first one I think is my favorite. The 4th one I loved pretty much, I think almost as much. I liked half of the second one very much, but I was kind of mad on the other half of it. And then the 3rd book entirely I wasn't super into, but it's funny because everybody here has different opinions on what their favorite book is in this series, and I think it just depends on what you like. If you like aliens, then you'll really like this one because it has a lot of aliens. The next one is Under Fortunate Stars. This is one of my favorite books of last year. So this book has normalized queerness and a time travel story that actually makes sense and that I really enjoyed, because time travel normally is not my favorite subgenre, so I was really surprised that this is one of my favorite books of last year. It's got a really cool found family feel, as well as really fun action scenes and a derelict ship. It's really fun, and I very much recommend it. The next one is Hunger Makes the Wolf by Alex Wells. This is part of a duology. It's about a woman who is part of a kind of a biker gang on a planet that is owned and crappily semi-terraformed by this company. The duology deals with the downtrodden workers fighting back against the corporation that keeps them living in these rundown, poorly equipped towns. There's also a creepy dude called the Weatherman, which is really interesting, and some space magic. It's really fun. One of the main characters is a lesbian, and the author is non-binary, so I really like this one. It's not very well known. It's from Angry Robot, I think. Yes. Another one I'm recommending is Norfolk Gloss by Essa Hansen. You might recognize this as the part 1 of the book I reviewed a few months ago, which was the 3rd one, Azura Ghost? No. Aethera Grave. Anyway, well, this is one of those normalized queerness books. This book is about, at least the first one, a young man overcoming his childhood trauma and gaining revenge. And then later in the series, it's about taking down a maniacal empress intent on amalgamating the multiverse into one universe. It's a really cool concept, how people are just jumping around between multiverses, or they exist in one while in another. And it's really cool and very conceptual. And you're like, whoa. And so as I said, in this series, queerness is definitely normalized. The main character is asexual, and we have, non-binary characters, and gender is fluid and all the good stuff. It's really, really fun. The next one is a classic and a book that I really love, a book that is wild, and that is Dahlgren by Samuel Delany. This book is about a city, a weird city. It's deep and complex and allegorical, and there's this poly relationship that has a very long sex scene. And yeah, it's a tome. It's a tome. I think Fit to Be Read just did a whole thing on this book, so you should totally check that out. I haven't read it in probably about 10 years, but because it's a tome. So Samuel Delany is still alive. He's in his 80s, and he's like the godfather of gay sci-fi. If you want to learn more about him, because he's a fascinating writer, you totally should. Just Google his name and LGBTQ+, and there's a ton of stuff, a ton of really interesting articles about why he wrote the books he did in the 70s and 80s, things like that. It's really, really interesting. So I don't own this one, but I read it last year and it was very fun. This is Bluebird by Sialpiro. It's a mercenary rebel and her librarian girlfriend, and they have to choose who to side with when there are three major factions trying to control the universe. It's fun and it's fast, it's entertaining, it's cute. There's a cishet relationship in it too that I really enjoyed. It's a really fun book. Let's see if I can actually pronounce this correct this time. Ancillary Justice. Is it ancillary? Ancillary? I don't know. By Anne Leckie. For some reason, this is a word that I just can never pronounce properly. If you haven't read this yet, you should. It's the only book to win the Hugo, the Nebula, and the Arthur C. Clarke Award. It's deserving of that. It's really, really good. It follows Breck, who is both the sole survivor of a starship destroyed by treachery and the vessel of that ship's artificial consciousness as they seek revenge against the ruler of the civilization. It's like very lofty, but it's also very like self-contained. I don't know. It's hard to explain. The queerness factor of this book is that one empire in the book does not distinguish gender, and everybody goes by she in that culture, which I always thought was really cool because you're always like, oh, he is the default, where in this one it's she. So the main character is part of this empire, and she's constantly having to try and figure out how to properly gender other species because she doesn't understand gender. It's really interesting, and I really like that. And this came out like a long time ago, like 2013 or something like that. So at the time, it was quite eye-opening to people that weren't as into, the LGBT plus scene or used to things like non-binary pronouns, things like that. And one of my favorites for last, so Tanya Huff's Confederation series. This is books 1 and 2 together, which I don't really like this omnibus. I would rather have 2 separate books. But anyway, so the first one is Valor's Choice. And I talk about these all the time. So this series is the gayest military sci-fi you'll ever read, and it's glorious. We have a bunch of grunts led by the unfathomable gunnery sergeant Torrin Kerr as they go on adventure after adventure. It's a military sci-fi though, so you get that kind of bonding between the people in the troop, and you get the like really cool fun action, but at the same time there's just this normalized queerness that you don't see in a lot of military sci-fi. And so that's what I really love about it, is that it was a military sci-fi that I didn't feel like I was being excluded from, because a lot of the time I'll read one and there's like one token woman or something like that, and I'm just like the great thing about this story is that I think there's like 7 or 8 books, and she just finished writing the last one a couple of years ago. And so the same characters carry through. So of course we get to see them grow and develop relationships, and sometimes they die and you're sad. The alien species though is what I really love about the book. They're really cool and it's just so fun. And it's also interesting because humans are kind of low on the totem pole in this like Confederation universe, which leads to some interesting plots later in the series because we don't see that very often, and I really like that. I do have some runner-ups for you. So An Unkindness of Goats. I think I said that when I did the review too. I remember saying that. Anyway, An Unkindness of Ghosts by River Solomon. This is a very heavy novel about systemic racism and colonialism, but it's riveting, and it features gender variant and neurodiverse characters. If you want something that will make you uncomfortable, but in a way uncomfortable in the sense that you feel very bad for the characters and there's a lot of terrible things happening, but it's a really important story, I would highly recommend you check this one out. Where'd it go? Come here. World Running Down, which is a light post-apocalyptic romance book between a trans man struggling to afford gender-affirming care and an AI displaced from his body. So the whole thing deals with body dysphoria. It's incredibly cute, but it's also like very important, and it's a really good book. I really love the cover. It's set in like Utah. There's also a memory called Empire by I can't remember. When I first read this book about a year and a bit ago, I wasn't like super into it, but I do think about it from time to time because there's things about it that I really, really liked. I love the richness of the detail of the world building specifically, and it has a lot of normalized queerness, queer main characters. I think I just found that the story itself for me dragged a little bit, so I wasn't like super into it that way, but I really thought that it was very well thought out and very well conceived in a sense. So I thought that that was cool. If you haven't read this yet and you're into graphic novels, definitely check out Saga. So it's about this couple. They are from different sides of a war fighting each other, and they have a baby. And so they're trying to escape from people that are hunting them down. There is a robot guy. He has like a TV for a head. There's a lot of sex in this book. Lots of sex scenes. I had to put them. So technically, the author's last name is Brian K. Vaughan, so it should be lower on my shelf. But I had to put it up high because I don't want my kids accidentally like looking at it, because there are like pages that have just like full on dicks, and you're just like, okay. I do have one more, and if you know my channel, you'll probably guess that it's Escape and First Contact, which is written by yours truly. This is a space opera trilogy, and it has zany characters in it. One particularly zany character that I very much love to write. It's about a derelict spaceship, a bunch of aliens and a couple of humans get trapped on the spaceship. They have to escape, and what is going on? You have to find out. Yeah, the whole thing is a trilogy. In my opinion, book 2 is the strongest book. Book 1, I do agree, it ends a bit abruptly, but yeah, books 2 and 3 expand a lot, and there was a really fun battle I got to write in book 2, and a very fun kind of like romance come together in book 2. All my kind of favorite tropes were in book 2, and then book 3 has a lot of battles and a very, very entertaining sex scene. Anyway, so yeah, if you like Mass Effect, then I recommend you check out my book. And if you check out my book and you hate it, I don't care. Don't tag me in your reviews though if you hate it, because I don't read my reviews anyway. So anyway, I hope you like that list, and if you've read any of these, please let me know in the comments and send me your recommendations for queer as fuck sci-fi books, because I need more of them in my life, and these are definitely not all of them. I have way more, but these are the ones I have in like hard copy. So yeah, thanks.